My name is Lauren Whitfield. I'm 35 years old, and I didn't know my life was about to split cleanly into a before and an after until a Sunday evening while I was sitting at a long oak dining table in my boyfriend's parents' house, holding a fork I'd stopped using, listening to someone explain my place in my own relationship like it was a compliment. Sunday dinners were a routine, once a month, same house, same seating, same expectations. Smile. Ask polite questions. Compliment the food. Don't rock anything. I'd been doing it for 6 years. Mark and I had been together for 8, living together for 6. His parents' place sat in a quiet suburb, manicured lawn, oversized porch, the kind of house that smelled like pot roast before you even stepped inside. His mom took pride in feeding people. His dad took pride in tradition, and his sister Vanessa took pride in being honest. At least, that's what everyone called it. We were halfway through dinner when the conversation shifted, the way it always did, to careers. Vanessa's husband had just been promoted at his finance firm. Big raise, bigger title. Something about a corner office. Everyone clapped like it was a graduation. "That's amazing," Mark's mom said. "You must be so proud." Vanessa beamed. "He's worked really hard." I smiled, nodded, took a sip of wine. Then Vanessa turned to me. "So, Lauren," she said, tilting her head, "what about you? Still at the same job?" I felt it coming and still wasn't ready. "Yeah," I said evenly. "Same company. Network administration. Been there about 8 years." "And?" she pressed. "They're expanding my team," I added. "I'll probably be managing a few people soon." She smiled. Not a warm smile. The kind that shows teeth, but no warmth behind the eyes. "That's nice," she said. "Comfortable." Mark stayed quiet. "With Mark's career really taking off," she continued, "it makes sense you're the stable one. Someone has to keep things steady at home." I laughed softly, reflexively. "Someone's got to hold down the fort." She laughed louder. "Exactly." Then she said it. "Honestly, he's so lucky you settled for someone like him." The table went quiet. Just for a second. Then Mark laughed. Not nervously. Comfortably. "Someone has to be the steady one," he said, smiling at his sister instead of me. Something shifted inside me. Not like a snap, more like a lock clicking open. Vanessa nodded approvingly. "It's good you know your role." I smiled. "You know what?" I said calmly. "You're absolutely right." Vanessa looked pleased. "I need to make a call," I added, setting my napkin down. "Excuse me." No one stopped me. Outside, the night air felt sharper than it should have. I sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel, thinking, not about what was said, but about how often it had been said before, and how often Mark had let it slide. I pulled out my phone, called my lawyer. By the time I drove back, I already knew. This wasn't anger. It was clarity, and clarity doesn't negotiate. By the time I pulled back into Mark's parents' driveway, the sky had gone fully dark. The house glowed warmly from the inside, kitchen lights on, silhouettes moving, laughter leaking faintly through the walls. Dessert time. Coffee. The part of the night where everyone relaxed, where the worst was supposed to be over. I sat in the car for a moment, engine idling, my hands resting on the steering wheel like they belonged to someone else. 6 years of dinners. 6 years of swallowing comments. 6 years of telling myself they don't mean it like that. I shut off the engine and grabbed the slim folder from the passenger seat. Inside it were copies. Clean. Official. Final enough. When I walked back into the dining room, conversation paused mid-sentence. "There you are," Mark said, relieved. "Where'd you go? You missed dinner." "Had to handle something," I replied, taking my seat again. My voice sounded steady. Almost detached. Vanessa was talking again, something about a 4-bedroom house they were looking at, the school district, the resale value, normal, comfortable, like nothing had happened. I waited until she took a breath. "Quick question," I said gently. She looked at me. "Yeah? You still think Mark's lucky I settled for someone like him?" The air changed instantly. Mark's hand found my arm under the table. His grip tightened. "Lauren," he murmured. "Don't." "I'm just asking," I said, keeping my eyes on Vanessa. "Earlier you said I settled. I'm wondering if you still feel that way." Her smile faltered. No, I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? She shifted in her chair. I just meant you're stable, reliable, and Mark. And I settled. I finished for her. Mark squeezed my arm harder. Can we not do this here? I reached into my bag and slid the folder onto the table. You're right, I said. We shouldn't. But here we are. Mark stared at the folder like it might bite him. What's that? He asked. Open it. He hesitated, then flipped it open. The color drained from his face so fast it was almost impressive. What is this? He whispered. Divorce papers, I said. Already filed. You'll be officially served this week, but I thought you deserved a heads up. Silence slammed down around us. Mark's mom's mouth fell open. His dad froze, fork hovering midair. Vanessa stared at the folder like it was written in another language. Mark laughed once, a short, sharp sound. You're joking. Not even a little. All this, he said, gesturing wildly, over a comment? Are you insane? I looked at him. Really looked. Over 6 years of comments, I said quietly. Tonight was just the last one. Vanessa found her voice. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. It was a joke. I turned to her. Was it a joke when Mark laughed? Mark shook his head. You're blowing this out of proportion. You laughed, I said. You agreed. You didn't defend me. You didn't even hesitate. I was uncomfortable, he said quickly. I didn't know what to say. You could have said anything, I replied. You could have said, don't talk about my girlfriend like that, or that's not true, or you could have just not laughed. His mom finally spoke. Lauren, honey, you're destroying this family over a misunderstanding. This isn't a misunderstanding, I said. This is a pattern. Mark pushed his chair back, standing now. You can't just end everything like this. I already did. His dad leaned forward, voice calm in that practiced, authoritative way. Marriage takes work. You don't walk away every time someone says something thoughtless. You don't stay when someone shows you who they are, I said, especially when it's your partner. Mark's voice cracked. Lauren, please. I stood, smoothing my jacket. Thank you for dinner, I said to the table. It was really eye-opening. Behind me, chaos erupted. Mark raising his voice, Vanessa scrambling to backpedal, his mother crying. I didn't turn around. I drove straight to a hotel. That was update 0. The next morning, my phone exploded. Calls, texts, voicemails. Missed calls stacking on missed calls like they might bury me if I didn't answer. I didn't. I sent one message. Please contact me through my lawyer. Mark showed up at the house that evening. I wasn't there. I'd gone early that morning while he was at work. Packed clothes, documents, my computer, the things that were mine. Apparently that didn't sit well with him. He called the police. I came back to find 2 officers in my living room and Mark pacing like a caged animal. She broke in, he said. Took stuff. One officer looked at me. Ma'am, is your name on the deed? Yes, I said, handing over paperwork. We bought it together. I'm in the middle of a separation. I was retrieving my belongings. They handed everything back to him. Civil matter, the officer said. You'll have to work it out through lawyers. They left. Mark stared at me like I'd betrayed him. How could you do that? I told you, I said. Talk to my lawyer. Then his family stepped in. His mom left a long voicemail, crying, pleading, accusing me of tearing everyone apart. How could I do this to her son, to them? His dad called next. Different approach. Calm, rational. Lauren, he said, you're overreacting. You need thicker skin. This is marriage. I didn't call either of them back. His brother texted. Seriously? You're going to blow up everything because your feelings got hurt? Grow up. Blocked. Then it was long, polished, carefully worded. She was sorry if I'd misinterpreted her comment. She'd been joking. I was clearly sensitive. Maybe I had insecurities I needed to work through. She gently suggested therapy. I forwarded it straight to my lawyer. Mark tried something else a few days later. He showed up at my office. Security called me to say a man was in the lobby, refusing to leave until he spoke to me. We ended up in the coffee shop next door. This is insane, he said the moment we sat down. You're really ending our relationship over this? I'm ending it because you don't respect me, I said. That's not true. You laughed when your sister said I settled. I was uncomfortable. You were complicit. He leaned forward, eyes wet. We can fix this. Counseling, whatever you want. I don't want to fix it, I said. I want out. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. What about the house, he asked. Our life? The house gets sold. We split it. The rest goes through the lawyers. Just like that? Just like that. 6 years, apparently, fit neatly into a manila folder. I stood up and left him sitting there, coffee untouched, finally understanding what it felt like to not be chosen. If there's one thing I learned quickly, it's that when you walk away from a relationship quietly, people get loud for you. Mark's lawyer contacted mine within a week. Their position was simple. Everything had been fine until I snapped at a family dinner. This was impulsive, emotional. I'd regret it. They proposed a 6-month separation instead of a divorce so I could cool off. My lawyer's response was shorter. No, we're proceeding. That's when things escalated. They came back asking for spousal support. We'd been together long enough, they argued. Mark had plans. He was supposedly considering cutting back work soon, maybe starting a family, adjusting priorities. That was news to me. We talked about kids the way people talk about moving to Europe someday, vaguely, hypothetically, never with timelines or commitments. He'd never once mentioned quitting his job or slowing down. My lawyer asked for proof. Emails, employment letters, medical records, anything. They had nothing. Because there was nothing. Meanwhile, the texts started rolling in. Friends of his, cousins I'd met once at a barbecue, people whose names I had to scroll up to remember. You're making a mistake. Pride isn't worth losing a relationship. You owe it to him to try. Not a single one asked what happened. Not one wondered if maybe this wasn't about one comment at dinner. The house was the one thing we agreed on. Eventually. Sell it. Split the money. Mark wanted to buy me out. His parents would loan him the difference so he could keep the place. No, I said. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. Why are you being vindictive? I'm not, I replied. I just don't want to live in a house where I spent years feeling small. That house held too many memories of Sunday dinners and forced smiles, of comments disguised as jokes, of Mark standing beside me, saying nothing. We listed it. While it sat on the market, Mark asked to meet again. For closure, he said. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at the same coffee shop. He looked tired, thinner. His confidence, the easy certainty he used to wear, was gone. I've been thinking about everything, he said, hands wrapped around his cup. You were right. About my sister, about my family. I waited. She's always been critical, he continued. That's just how she is. I got used to it. I didn't realize how much it affected you. I told you, I said. You didn't tell me how bad it was. I shouldn't have had to, I replied. Respect isn't something you wait to be asked for. He nodded quickly. I should have defended you. I should have shut it down. I'm sorry. He looked at me expectantly. That was the moment I realized something important. I don't forgive you, I said. His face fell. What? Maybe someday, I added, but not now. And we're not trying again. Why not? He asked, voice rising. I'm apologizing. I'm admitting I was wrong. You're apologizing after I filed, I said. After I moved out. After you realized I was serious. That's not fair. You know what's not fair? I asked quietly. Being with someone who doesn't respect you and calling it love. I do respect you. No, I said. Respect is active. It's defending your partner when they're not in the room. It's shutting people down when they cross a line. You never did that. Not once. I'll do better, he said quickly. I promise. Too late. He reached across the table. Please, I love you. I pulled my hand back. I don't think you do, I said. I think you loved having someone reliable, someone steady, someone who made your life easier. But loving me, actually seeing me, no. I stood and walked out again. The house sold a few weeks later. Good neighborhood, competitive market. After fees and the mortgage, we each walked away with about $85,000. Clean. Even. Mark was furious I wouldn't let him keep it. I didn't care. The divorce was finalized about a month after that. No kids, no drawn-out custody battles, just paperwork and signatures and a judge who sided with Mark on a few furniture items I hadn't bothered to fight for. I didn't want the couch. I wanted my life back. I heard through a mutual friend that Mark moved back in with his parents temporarily. Renting alone was harder than he expected. Vanessa, apparently, was having problems of her own. Her husband, finance job, promotion, corner office, was tired of her attitude, tired of the constant criticism, the way nothing he did was ever enough. Imagine that. Mark's mother tried to add me on social media a few months later. I ignored it. Mark texted me on what would have been our 7th anniversary. Thinking about you today. Hope you're well. I didn't respond. A few months after that, I heard he was dating someone. Good. I genuinely hoped he treated her better. Me? I started therapy. Turns out when you swallow resentment for years, it doesn't disappear. It just waits. My therapist said the dinner comment wasn't the cause. It was the breaking point. Death by 1,000 cuts. Work was good. I got that management position. 4 people reporting to me. Better pay, better benefits. I moved into a smaller apartment. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I decorated it the way I wanted. No compromise, no commentary. I got a dog. Always wanted one. Mark didn't like animals. The dog listens better than he ever did. Sometimes, late at night, I wondered if I'd overreacted, if I'd thrown away something salvageable. Then I remembered Vanessa's smile, Mark's laugh, the way no one had rushed to correct her, and the doubt faded. I didn't end my relationship over a comment. I ended it over 6 years of being treated like I should be grateful someone chose me, and I wasn't going back. It's strange how quiet life gets after the noise stops. No lawyers calling, no family voicemails, no defending yourself to people who already decided you were the villain. Just space. At first, the quiet felt wrong, like I was forgetting something important, like I should be bracing for the next argument, the next accusation, the next, Lauren, you're being dramatic. But nothing came. The divorce finalized on a Thursday afternoon. No ceremony, no speeches, just signatures, stamps, and a judge who looked tired in the way only someone who's watched thousands of relationships unravel can look. When it was done, I walked out of the courthouse alone. I didn't cry. I didn't feel victorious either. I felt lighter. The kind of lightness you don't notice until the weight is gone. Apparently living alone was harder than he thought. Rent, groceries, the quiet. Funny how being the steady one looks different when no one's doing it for you anymore. Vanessa's marriage didn't last much longer. Her husband finally left. I didn't hear the details directly, but the pattern sounded familiar. Constant criticism, condescension framed as honesty, dismissiveness disguised as humor. He'd tried to talk to her for years. She told him he was too sensitive. Gaslighting, apparently, runs in families. Both siblings ended up back at their parents' house. I won't pretend I didn't notice the irony. Mark's mom tried one more time to reach out. A friend request. Then a message through a mutual contact saying she hoped I was open to forgiveness. I wasn't angry. I just didn't want to reopen a door I'd already closed. Mark texted again months later. No apologies. No explanations. Just, hope you're doing okay. I didn't answer. Not because I was bitter, because responding felt like stepping backward. Therapy helped me understand something important. I wasn't conflict avoidant. I was self-erasing. I'd learned early on how to make myself smaller to keep the peace, how to laugh things off, how to tell myself it's not that bad because acknowledging it would mean admitting I was unhappy. The dinner didn't change me. It just made it impossible to keep pretending. Work kept moving. Then, unexpectedly, it accelerated. 6 months after the management promotion, my director pulled me aside. "We're restructuring," he said. "I want you heading the department. 3 teams, bigger budget, bigger responsibility, bigger paycheck." I laughed when I got home. One of those disbelieving laughs that comes out before you can stop it. The same job Vanessa once called comfortable. Turns out, comfort can still build something solid. I bought a small house not long after. 2 bedrooms, a yard big enough for the dog, quiet street, no formal dining room, no table meant for hosting judgment. It felt like mine the moment I walked in. I painted the walls colors Mark would have hated, hung movie posters instead of framed quotes, bought furniture because I liked it, not because it made sense as a couple. My parents visited and smiled in that soft way parents do when they see their child finally exhale. "You seem lighter," my mom said. I was. I dated occasionally. Nothing serious at first. A few nice dinners, a few awkward ones. One man I saw for a while before we realized we wanted different things. No drama. No bitterness, just honesty. Almost a year after everything finalized, I ran into Mark by accident. Coffee shop, Saturday morning. He was with his fiancée. She was pretty, polished, confident in the way someone is when they haven't been worn down yet. We locked eyes for half a second. That was it. An awkward nod, a half wave. He looked surprised to see me, maybe disappointed, maybe relieved. She didn't know who I was, and that was the moment I knew I was free. I wasn't curious about her. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't replaying anything in my head. I grabbed my coffee and took my dog to the park, unbothered. That felt like closure. Later, someone asked me if I regretted how I handled things, if I should have tried counseling first, if I'd given Mark enough chances. I told them the truth. I gave him 6 years. Every comment I swallowed. Every time his sister insulted me and he stayed silent. Every dinner where I smiled through discomfort. Every moment I felt less than and told myself it was my problem. Those were chances. The dinner wasn't the end. It was when I stopped waiting. People confuse being calm with being okay. I wasn't okay. I was enduring. There's a difference. Mark got engaged again. Big ring, big venue. Social media made sure everyone knew. Vanessa was apparently maid of honor. I imagine there will be another dinner, another table, another partner learning, slowly, where they stand. I'll be home with my dog, on my couch, in a house that reflects who I am, watching something ridiculous and enjoying the quiet. That's the win. Not the divorce, not being right, not watching someone else's life fall apart. The win is knowing I deserve to be chosen out loud, to be defended, to be respected when I'm not in the room, to never be described as something someone else settled for. My relationship didn't end when Vanessa opened her mouth. It ended years earlier when Mark laughed instead of standing up for me. That night just freed me from pretending otherwise. Sliding those papers across the table wasn't cruel. It was honest. Walking out wasn't dramatic. It was necessary. I'm not the steady one who knows her role. I'm not the support system someone tolerates. I'm just a woman who finally decided she was done being treated like she was lucky to be chosen. And that decision changed everything.